Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, and I just wanted to now finally do a review of the BMW 3 Series 320i, also known as the G20, oddly known as the G20. And I've had this car for 2 years now. I've done 35,000 miles, and I just wanted to provide my feedback and review of this car. And to save you having to watch the rest of this video, I'll just cut to the chase and say that this car is 100% crap. It's the worst car I've ever driven or leased. And yeah, it does nothing well. So watch no further. But if you're one of those curious types, then I'll continue with a more detailed explanation of why and how I came to that conclusion. So I leased this car, the 320i, because I was desperate for a car. And at that time, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a shortage of stock, and my family car broke down. I needed a car for the school runs, so I decided to, based on really good reviews, especially one by Mr. Matt Watson, who nominated this car as the car of the year. So I thought, oh, Matt Watson nominated car of the year, it's there in stock, the price was right. I thought, okay, fine. For £420 a month, I got this car fully maintained for 2 years in 2021. So that's the story. And so I got the car, and I pretty much hated it from day one, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, I didn't like the drive. I thought it was really rough and not very enjoyable at all. So from that point of view, I think it just did not do it for me from a comfort perspective. From a performance perspective, because it's a 2-litre engine, I felt that it didn't give me the power as well. So I thought, I'm not getting the comfort, I'm not getting the power. What am I really getting? Then I thought, maybe it's practicality. But if you look at the rear seats, and pardon the mess, but this really isn't a lot of legroom in here. I mean, like, you know, you don't really want to spend, I'm not, very tall, but you don't really want to spend much time in here at all. It's quite claustrophobic, actually. So I think because of this low swooping pillar line, to give it a nicer shape, they've swooped down quite a lot, but that does compromise on the headroom. So there's that problem. Then the other thing I don't like about the car is just generally, I mean, from a look and feel point of view, when you get inside the car, you just don't feel like it's made of any really good materials at all. What I do like about the car, I suppose, the lights and the front look. I think it does look nice from certain angles. So I do like the front light design, and I think that's what attracted me to the car. If you look at the rear of the car, it's also quite a good design. So I did like the lighting and the design compared to the other BMWs that are being made, which have some really hideous BMW lighting design. So I thought this was more timeless. But look, for some reason, and I kid you not, for 2 years, this flies come and sit on this car. Now you look on the Jag, no flies. What does it say about flies being attracted to what? I didn't say it, but look, I'm not making this up. So yeah, there's that. Now, from a boot perspective, I'll show you. It's quite a deep boot, and those seats do fold down, and you can have a bit more space. But generally, whenever people get in the back, legroom is very limited in this car. For the size of the car, and it's quite a big thing, it's put on a lot of weight, but I don't know where it's gone because it's not translated into more cabin space. Coming inside the car, which is the biggest issues that I have with this car, apart from the way that it drives, is the AC issue. And then also, I don't know how this car has been designed, but notice this on any G20, which is this shape of BMW 3 Series. Notice this, that whenever the whole car is clean, for some reason, this area will be the filthiest, will get dirtiest the first, which results in two problems. Number one, every time you have to open the boot or close it, with your hands at least, you have to touch it, and you end up touching the most dirtiest part of the car, so it comes up all in your hands. That's really, really annoying, especially in the winters. And that, even if you take it to a car wash, within 2-3 days, this area will be filthy. And then you won't want to touch it every time you need to close your boot. And it's not electrically operated boot, so that's really annoying. The other problem that this creates, which people don't talk about, is that you'll see that the rear parking camera is mounted here, right? And it kind of protrudes out a little bit. So what happens is all that crap, for some reason, the way the car is designed, and all the crap that comes up, it goes in right on the lens, which means that this camera looks like, well, this camera then just becomes very, very dirty, and you can't see anything out of it. It's just amazing how quickly this camera then gets dirty, and you can't see anything, and you have to manually go out and wipe the lens before you can use your reverse camera again. Getting performance. I have good handling. The other thing I don't know if you can make out is this, that when you're sitting in the car, this pillar that comes down, it really does come down over your head, which does make you feel cooped in. And it's just not a nice place to be. The minute you pull up, you want to get out of the car. It's just because it just is not good feng shui. It doesn't feel good to me anyway. So that's another thing I don't like about this car. Also, you know, the car just, you know, it's hard to say, but apart from the steering wheel, which is okay, and this gear stick, which leaves always you know, handprints on it because it's that glossy glass stuff, it does feel okay, but it doesn't feel premium. Like, even if you look at the seats and the leather, this faux leather, it just doesn't feel very nice in here at all. So it does feel a bit basic. I suppose it is a 320i, but still, yeah, it just feels a bit outdated, really. You'd expect more from a car in 2021. Another problem with this car is I can press this button, right, which says max AC, and everything pretty much goes ballistic, and the AC starts to work, right? But inadvertently, if you ever hit that with, well, there you go. And if you ever hit that with by accident, then it will come on. Now, if I switch it off, you'll see that the AC still remains on. So now, how do I switch the AC off? There's no direct off and on for the AC. So you have to go into the menu of the AC, and then you have to go over here, and then you have to untick this, and now you'll see that the AC is no longer on. But if I hit that by accident again, and I'm, say, over here or somewhere else, I have to now, to switch that off, I can't just do that. The AC stays on, which is really, really annoying. Sorry, before we set off, I just wanted to have a rant about this. Really, BMW? Really? You're going to give us manual seats in 2021 when we had this technology 35 years ago? What next? Do I have to pay extra for headlights because 100 years ago cars didn't all have headlights? I mean, like, really? Why can we not just have electric seats for all cars in 2021? especially from so-called premium brand like BMW. Ran over. Let's go for a drive then, and see what it drives like, and I'll share some thoughts whilst driving this car. Yeah, I find that the infotainment system, this touchscreen thing, is just a gimmick. It doesn't really work. I feel like the iDrive infotainment system overall over the last 4 or 5 years has just gone a bit backwards, because it hasn't really progressed as well, and they've tucked in a lot of functionality into the actual infotainment system, like set embedded in the infotainment system, and not enough one touch control. And I think that as we get into digital infotainment systems with electric cars especially, certain operations should always be one touch available on the dash or on the control panel of the car. That should never be embedded in a digital menu system like BMW have done with their AC. So I think there needs to be a rethink by car manufacturers about which one-touch controls they must retain on the control panel, rather than making customers go into menus and then selecting those controls embedded within menus and sub-menus. That's not gonna work. And AC on and off should be one touch on the dash, as should key other things that I'm sure you can think of, the usual suspects. We don't really want to see that kind of stuff disappearing and shriveling down and turning it into the digital menu system. Even if it's on a screen, I still want to see one touch operation for certain things. I don't know if you guys feel about that, but yeah, let's take this car for a drive and let's collect some thoughts there. When you put this car into comfort mode, it goes into comfort mode, but it's just mocking you. When you're driving along, even when the car is in comfort mode, it's really not very comfortable at all, as you can see by how much the camera is shaking. That it really, this is not comfortable at all. So I'm not going particularly fast, but I feel really, as a driver, you do feel kind of violated when you're driving along in this 320i, just because of, I always joke about it, that if you want to digest your food, have a meal and then go for a drive in this car. And by the end of the journey you will have burped and a few times, like the way you do a newborn baby, and you at least it helps you digest your food. Perhaps that's one of the many fantastic features of this fantastic BMW 320i. Okay, so driving characteristics wise, I suppose if I was going down the Nürburgring, then I'd really like this car as a saloon. It's very tight, taut, poised and cornering, very precise, the way it just catches a corner or distributes its weight. So from that perspective, it's very, very good. It really does change direction exceptionally well. But it's just the experience of driving it that makes it very, very lame. I guess problem with this car is, you see, even when you give it the beans, it just kind of taps out. It just taps out like Conor McGregor against Habib, and there's nothing really there, and you're just left with this sense of want and need, and it just takes a little bit too long to change gears, I think, possibly, or it's just because it's just a 4-pot engine and it has its limitations. So the overall experience of putting your foot down in this car is very underwhelming. Yeah, you see, it just kind of whistles like a little electric shaver, and then just taps out. As I pull into my neighborhood in the last few times with this car, after 2 years of leasing it, I must say, you won't be missed. So, in conclusion, the BMW 320i G20 model for me is a bit of a flop. It's nowhere near its predecessors, and it lets its ancestry down. The E30 was a great car. It was lots of fun to drive. It had plenty of power through all of the model variants, and it was a great driving experience. This car, if I was to say something positive about it, is that it's really well engineered. And I'm sure you've heard this about BMWs before. Great engineering, great handling, great weight distribution. But in the olden days, or not so olden days, it was also about the ultimate driving experience. And that's the thing that's missing with this BMW model variant. It's the driving experience. It's very, very underwhelming. It's very uncomfortable. It's ill-equipped and not very powerful, and not very economical, not very practical, doesn't do anything well. It's the jack of all trades but master of none, although it hasn't even jacked comfort properly. I don't know why they've got a comfort mode setting in there, because it doesn't work. It's not possible. And I'm not on run flat tires, by the way. These are tires, non-run flat, normal air tires, and the car is damn uncomfortable. So I really will be glad to see the back of it. And the Audi e-tron is a much better car. Its competitor, the C-Class, is a much better car because it's a lot more comfortable and it's better equipped for the same money. So I just think, I hope that the next model variant, they bring more of the driving experience back into the 3 Series, because this car's left me, after 2 years, unable to love it. I've kind of fallen out of love with the 3 Series after having this for two years, and it's going to be hard to win me back. So those are my thoughts after 2 years and 35,000 miles. Let me know what you guys think, and whether or not you agree, disagree, and if you think I've been too harsh on the car. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.